This is just the beginning of the real big picture scope of where I'm going with this quest. One thing that I'm certain of is that my growth hackiness that I previously used to garner millions of views and billions of impressions online is going to be absolutely central to making this company like the next alphabet. It's clear to me that the future is really based not on who can really ship the best code, as we're going to have AI coming into the playing field, but really is very narrative central. Who can get the most attention? Who can tell the greatest story? And so I have a video edited. I'm going to link it in the description since it's a whole separate video with a strategy that I'm calling Top V. Now the reason it's called that is because someone else went and became the most searched person on the planet who called themselves Top G, and they were stopped, they got banned, and that's because they were top gangsta rather than top vibes. Now, but to take that same strategy and to do it with a much bigger system to build something bigger than oneself rather than him who was obsessed with himself, then I'm quite excited about the narrative, the spiritual aspect that we'll be doing here. So, if you want to see where that's going, go and watch that video, and you'll get a deeper insight into truly why I believe we have a good shot at building the next alphabet. Thank you again. Cheers.
I just want Paul Allen from Ancestry.com and we're going to be doing stuff with Soren and staffing for you.
I'll let you know the amount. We'll definitely do it. And we'll just be part of, you'll be partners with our studios working together. Can I share your video? I'll share your video with like 100 people, and I'll say, you guys, I met Mark Zuckerberg in May of 2007. Look at my blog post predicting what he was going to do. I just met Jack J in Puerto Rico. This guy is off the charts smart. He's driven. Let me know if you want to talk to him. I'll send it out to about 100 handpicked people this week or next.
Oh my gosh.
He's amazing, he's super smart, young kid, knows a lot about technology, and is whipping up a bunch of AI companies really fast. Okay. And I think you guys are really going to enjoy this.
Hello, everybody. How's it going?
Hey.
Welcome. Get the deck pulled up here. So, yeah, I've had a very exciting time this past year launching the whole AI-focused aspect with the Venture Studio model. I kind of took a deep dive into the future of what stays important as AI disrupts the world, as it also enables smaller and smaller teams to ship large-scale disruptive products. And that's what made me really want to dive into the Venture Studio model. Is awesome because you kind of have head operative teams which build to streamline the whole process of building a startup. Every company needs web devs, every company needs graphic designers, every company needs recruiting. And so when you build really effective models for doing those things, you can not only service other people and turn these into agencies, but internally you can utilize this sort of stuff. Obviously, the bottleneck for any company is talent, is early stage. How do you find the best talent in the world? And so I hired my first person from India when I was 17. I've never had a job. I've always been doing business. This was for a PayPal to Ethereum exchange. I was the first one to do that, so that was great. I had a good time doing it. After that, built a manufacturing company. I've had 2 exits. And now I'm going for big home runs, right? I want to be an Elon Musk type figure. I'm fully focused on that as my main quest in life. I view life as a video game of its own. And a year ago, I went out to India. Going to India, awesome, got to learn a lot about that culture. I originally went out there to start a startup college model. For me, building my first company, I was pretty confused on why, I was young, but I was a visionary. I was getting recruited for football, but not for a big startup idea. Why can I only get minimum wage to go cut sandwiches at Subway and not to disrupt the future? I mean, I was in Tucson, Arizona. There's not a lot of the venture capital ecosystem there, but I was like, fundamentally, the innovation landscape is far bigger than football itself. So why is there recruiters for that here? Oh, maybe it's actually not effective to be an entrepreneur. Maybe it's not worth that dollar amount. Well, that was extremely wrong. Someone had introduced me a year later to Thiel Fellowship. For those who don't know, that's started by Peter Thiel. They give 100K to people who drop out of college and start companies. So that produced Ethereum, Figma, I think a total of like $260 billion in value. And that was over the past 12 years that they do that, 20 students a year. So basically they input $24 million. They're a nonprofit though, so they're not doing that at scale or trying to scale it. But to be able to reach out to people very early on and roll out a red carpet and say, take the exponential path, here's a salary to do it, truly de-risking at the earliest stage, to me that's the schism which I'm focusing on. I'm going on then the biggest job market I found. While I was out in India, I started learning about the main platforms people recruit on, and especially early on. There's Principles by Ray Dalio which says, don't look at people at where they are, but where they are going. And so if you want to find the hidden gems, you want to get the most amount of value, that's why Thiel Fellowship was so successful, is you find the very early geniuses, and you basically give them permission, you give them belief, and you give them the resources to go disrupt the world. So in order to find those people, I had some bots built on top of this recruiting platform. We pay for premium access to their database. There's 4 million people, all of the freshers coming out of India. And then that allows us to get 5,000 applicants on any new listing that we put on there. And basically, rather than doing interviews or looking at people's resumes, which I think is very inefficient, I'll host what I call a jobathon. And so we send all 5,000 people, here's our idea, here's what we want to build. And whoever builds this, whoever makes the best MVP, whoever ships code, who is amazing, who is a killer, how can I test that? I'll test it by doing real world checking. We own an average of 80% of these companies. Because we're attacking in the job market, we become the best opportunity for all of the freshers coming out of college. We're offering around $2,000 a month to $1,500 a month. So hyper effective in terms of the rate we're investing in. Obviously, if after a few months they don't end up performing amazing, we can also cut that off. And in terms of then offering equity to them, 10%, 20% if we take on 2 people as a co-founder stack, that's where we come out and have an average ownership of 80%. But in the job market, this is the absolute best deal that's on the table. That's a very high salary starting out. For India, dollar goes roughly 15 times as far. So that's like $20,000 a month coming out of college for them, for what we're paying. And they own equity, and they get to be their own boss. And so that's the schism, because from the flip side, from a venture capital standpoint, if you say, I'll give you $2,000, that is a terrible deal from the venture capital side. And so that was for me what I wanted when I was young. And so after my own success, I was able to go back and say, I'm going to fill in the schism, be there for my younger self, and roll out the red carpet to go have great success. And so I call it crafting a magic factory. Now you'll see a lot of the startups that we're doing are very ecosystem based. So they're going to help our own system. Why did we start with talent and recruiting? Well, that's the bottleneck of creating any great company in the first place. I switched the quote up here, the best magic is indistinguishable from technology. And a part of this whole methodology is, there's people who say AI is underhyped, there's people who say AI is overhyped. I agree with both. AI is underhyped when people are looking at where the puck currently is, where people are trying to create different chat bots on top of websites and these sorts of things, which are just going to get kind of destroyed by the main master models that come out. But it is very underhyped in terms of automating a lot of these business processes, automating workflows, and I'll talk about one company in that space in a second here. So you can think of Persist Ventures as a company. The core business is building software to streamline this process of building companies itself, of startups, and turning that into companies. So I say that talent process that I explained, 360 times more effective. How do we get that number? Well, we're at least getting double the amount of applicants from our bots that outreach. We send out the video. The video's like inspiring. It says if you want to own your own company and have a chance at really changing the world, here's your opportunity to do that. And we get to sort through 5,000 people, not just with interviews, but by actually checking the work they produce and how fast they produce it. So we're seeing the speed at which people are shipping, and it's based in India, so it's 15 times more cost effective in terms of the salary differentials and how far the dollar goes. So that company is called Swissmo, it's swissmo.com, and then we've ended up staffing for other San Francisco-based tech companies. That's where I was prior to being out here. One of them was a company who had spent like $2 million, took a year to build a Notion competitor, had so many bugs. There's not that much depth to it. We actually found him an engineer who rebuilt it from scratch in 6 weeks for him for $4,000 a month. And so that's how this company makes money. It's similar to Deal.com, which does staffing, and they're now a $12 billion company. International staffing is great to centralize it because you handle the legal policy. They don't need to go through that. They just pay you as a contractor. So selling it outside is great, but capturing this internal value is even better. So here are then more companies. Now, employer grants was one we did right at the end where ERC was a thing. Did anyone do ERC in here? That was employer retention credits. It was from the CARES Act. There's like a $400 billion bill. Someone else did it for one of my companies, and then I paid them 15 grand, and then I asked my aunt, who's a CPA, how much would it have costed us to file that? And she was like, $100. And I was like, well, they got me a ton of free money. That was the offer they came to me with was, hey, there's a grant. We'll file it for you. We'll do everything. Just pay us a % if we get you stuff. And I was like, great, But after I paid them, I was like, wait, that's an amazing business model. So we did that. We did $400,000 of grants. We did it right at the end. But the future of this is actually checking all eligible grants and then auto-filing. I named it employergrants.com for a reason. Most people who did ERC called it like ERC grants, blah, 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 but I knew, think long term, and there's always more grant programs coming out. Next was Giphy Studio. So GIFs itself, not many people really understand how big these are. This is technically the biggest social platform in the world because it connects to all other social platforms. So in terms of daily active users, they are the biggest. And what I was curious on was how do they rank? People are very familiar with SEO mainly for Google. All places which feed things serve them from different places. So for Giphy Studio, I did this challenge and I said, who can basically hack the ranking algorithm of Giphy itself? We figured it out. We didn't just figure it out so that we could get high on some long tail search words like you have to do for Google. Google's super competitive. We had #1 for any word we wanted in the world. And so I went to my friend who had an NFT company. NFT companies are all IP. They already have a bunch of GIFs made. And I said, look, let's do this. Let's work together. So for Bitcoin, Pepe, Ethereum, I love you, everything, we ranked top. And in the past 9 months, it's gone to 11 billion views, which is not that bad. So they were already at 1 billion, so we only helped them get 10 billion. Next, I wanted to then see how powerful this system was. I was like, okay, how can I just give extremely hard tasks here to 5,000 developers? Well, maybe they're actually going to be able to fundamentally create some paradigm-shifting companies. And so this one was, who's heard of Adept AI in the room? We got a few people. Adept AI is, I think a great idea. It's currently we have the prefrontal cortex with AI. We have large language models. They can rationalize, they can do a lot of the tech stuff well. But really the fundamental paradigm shift is once we get the motor cortex, once it can do actions. Now, robots is one thing, but that becomes extremely expensive when you have hardware in the real world, and there's a higher GDP in the amount of labor cost in digital world than there is in physical world anyways. So being able to create automated systems. Now, each one of these things, by the way, I'll have a deck link at the end, has its own deck of their own where there's actually demos and everything. I'm just trying to make sure I don't go far over time here, or else I'd show. Now, Adept AI released 7 different universal prompts, like find me a house on Redfin for around 400K with 6 bedrooms. So it's something that you might go online to go do or tell your executive assistant to do. But now, since the large language model can sort of plan the steps, it can also write code. It just writes the code in order to automate the browser to go do those functions. And so this was very impressive to a lot of investors. And so after they released that demo, they raised $350 million at a $1 billion valuation. And so I took their demos and I sent it to the 5,000 developers. I think for this one we did multiple listings and ended up having like 15,000 people because I knew that it was a lot more difficult. And I said, whoever can build this, like, you're instantly hired, this is gonna be big, you know. And it took a bit longer. In the first week, like, so many people submitted hard-coded. Like, it did all 7 prompts, but they had like made sure it only worked for those prompts. It wasn't a very general bot. But a few people had ones which were decent. They were super persistent, so we brought them on board. And then a month later, I guess some people had watched our video for our hiring process and been hacking on it a little bit, and then gone to a hackathon where then they took this idea on and they got people rallied up to go push after it. And they won the hackathon, and then they came to me, and it did 5 out of the 7 of Adept AI's prompts. And Adept AI had worked on this for like 2 years, and spent tens of millions of dollars with San Francisco engineers. So that was pretty cool. And now we do all 7 out of 7 since we onboarded that team. And then this is Larry Molstein. He's still at Google AI. Right now, this is all funded via the money we make from Swissmo and everything, so I haven't pulled him away from Google, but that's why I'm here, that's why I'm giving this talk, that's why, when I showed Brock this whole thing, he's now an investor and advisor and helping me really scale everything, because obviously the fundamentals are here, and that's very exciting. Also, when thinking about the future of, this is AI agents of Workplete, that's where you can speak to your browser or write in what functions you want to happen. It's very useful, but you're only acting as a layer like an API call. Being in the API call format in the AI business today is just a race to the bottom. We already see this with LLMs. Google and Gemini Pro is free. They're not charging. They're just trying to get users onto their API because there is some value capture there. Thinking about value capture in AI is interesting. It's interesting on how can we actually disrupt Google and be the top level stack. And so fundamentally, the thought is, how will we use these personal assistants of the future? Once we can do a lot of these things, which we normally text our executive assistants for, how are we going to interact with that? And I think voice is going to become very big. And so from that work on Workplete, I also have then watched Tab. Has anyone seen Tab? And then there's Rewind AI and Humane. Humane's the biggest, most well-known one, which is the AI hardware. And so this is all betting on this same market. That we'll use our voice, we'll be able to say certain function calls and make things happen. This is a $600 necklace. They did a demo where he said, hey Tab, can you help me with my pitch? So I'll say, hey Ova, can you give me a poem summary of the past 2 days of what I've been talking about? I'm on stage right now talking to people. So this necklace sold out. It's a necklace which is a recorder, and it's $600 a pop. But clearly when you look at that, and you say, where is this going to come out? It's on our phone. And so I am not wearing a necklace. I just have an app open on my phone, which is always listening. And so right now, it is writing the poem that I just asked it to write. It's been listening to this whole speech and conversation. It is downloading the context of my life all the time. It's clearly what Siri should be if Apple was not bureaucratic and was actually shipping great products. But they're leaving opportunity. That's always what happens. The big dogs start getting slow, and then the people who actually understand the fundamentals and ship product quick win. And there's some people going after this, but doing a $600 necklace, a separate thing that I have to charge, is not the way that this gets big. The way it gets big is first as a free app on the store. In fact, this app, it'll be out of beta and on the live store tomorrow. Right now it's iOS beta, but it's live on the Android store. This was just yesterday, right? I've got people who are working 15-hour days because I'm just get on call with them and I tell them, you're gonna be fucking amazing, like you guys are killing it, and we're disrupting all these spaces. Here's the poem, by the way. On stage you stand, with vision so bold, a tale of ventures and technology told, adept AI and bots, your story unfolds, in a market where voice will break the old molds. A studio model, a talent goldmine, your path's been set, your stars align. A pitch with passion, your words combine, to captivate hearts and minds by design. So speak, dear visionary, let your dreams soar, as listeners await, eager for more. Your venture's journey, a tale to adore, a poem of progress from core to core. Thank you to my AI. That was nice. Thanks, Ova. And so that is then integrated with my calendar. I can say, hey, Ova, make me a meeting tomorrow with someone I meet here. How will this have sort of a ChatGPT moment when it's fundamentally so good that it becomes emetic, that other people start downloading this? Because obviously an app is 1,000 times more quickly scalable than AI hardware that someone needs to shovel out $600 extra to have a separate device that they need to keep charged. It is through the function, I think, which I wish what we're shipping out next is when you meet someone and you say, hey, what's your contact info? What's your number? And you get their number, it'll automatically take that, save the contact, save information about what you guys talked about. And you get the summary, so you don't lose that. And you can just have that automatically happen. Well, then they're gonna be like, oh, that's cool, I wanna do that. It's like when you get the metal business card and you're like, oh shit, I should get metal business cards too. Except this will also then help with all the aspects of what Workplate is working on, which is automating those actual task functions. So it's like, I think we're very much so moving to top level. How do we search for things? How do we grab data? One of the cool things is when you always have this on, when someone asks a question, I don't need to say, I don't need to then repeat it. I just say, hey, Ova, because she already listened to the question. So in conversation, it's actually quite cool, where it's like a third person in the party that can just jump in. Fundamentally, OpenAI won't go into this market. There are 7 states which are two-party consent, and so it's unlikely that they're going to enter into the always ready recorder space. Because this is something where I keep it on in my pocket and I record conversation in all the context of my life. Next, with humane AI, yeah, I'm running out of time. I still got a bunch of slides. Obviously, I'm passionate about all this stuff. We'll go super quick. Do I have time to go super quick through the rest?
Maybe questions would be better.
Okay.
Questions?
So I have a question. What you're doing, fucking amazing. Is it really a marketing thing or is it a technology play? What is your life about?
My life is about storytelling and paradigm shifts. I'm really being there for my younger self.
P&L. So I'm asking on the P&L, is it marketing or technology really?
It's tech. Obviously, marketing's the component of it. Me being a storyteller markets the whole boat the same way Elon's brand makes anything he does big. I like the idea of look big, act small. That's why I've got this being recorded. I'm gonna do YouTube. I think no one's really been in that Venn diagram of influence where they're also shipping tech companies and being a visionary. That's the role I want to lead. I have the manifestation engine now, is what I like to call it, for the stack of calling on 5,000 developers for new ideas. One of the ones that, Chris, you wanted me to make sure that I showed this one off, because this is where I met Chris for the first time, and he was very impressed. If you guys have Telegram, you can scan that code. One of the ideas I wanted was when I went to events that I could scan the room and see who's there and who I should talk to. So this is a reverse face eye image search. If you guys use it, you can take a photo of the person next to you. It'll show them photos of them from the web, and then it'll scrape information about them and tell you what to talk to them about. It'll give you a poem about them, and then you can also grab contact info after. So some fun stuff. In terms of automating the processes, we also have automated AI co-founder search on YC's co-founder thing. These are just some of the tooling that didn't become companies itself. The face search thing was something I just wanted for myself, and then the guy didn't have that to work on anymore, and I said, turn it into a product, start marketing it, so now it's driving revenue. Most people are using it to search up women and their wives and girlfriends, but what to expect other than that? Any other questions?
You'll be outside, right?
Yeah, I'll be outside, and then, here's when I automated grabbing meetings. I got 800 meetings in one day. That was way too many. Got a great team. Here's people. Everyone is from our automated tools that's on the team, but let me just throw up. There's my number. Feel free to text me. In terms of one of those companies that I was going to show, I met someone else who had a great idea. They initially just wanted to use the recruiting stack for them to build their product, and then they were like, wait, I don't want to be a CEO. I'll keep funding the idea, keep it under your studio. And so we do JVs like that as well. If you guys have a great idea and you're like, oh, I wish I could take my ideas and turn them into gold, then that's what I'm here for. Overall, for our company, we're doing a seed. Brock really pushed me into that, and it's going to be 2 mil at an 18 mil valuation, pre-money, which I think is an amazing deal. Money just for me goes 15 times farther, so that acts like a $30 million round, because I'm doing minimum viable America, meaning I'm taking this capital and bridging and arbitraging over to India, because that's the best way to turn capital into innovation. Thank you guys so much.
That's good. Okay. Did I earn your favor just by basically telling you that you should basically talk to me again?
You've shifted the timeline of my life in a way that I can't express.
And you know what?
The
Coming from this
butterfly
guy,
effect is a very real thing.
coming from this guy, I'm telling you, this might be one of the biggest. If I look back, I think, and I'm connecting the dots, regardless of what happens, just by virtue of enlightening this man by what he just said, I feel 30 years later, I'll look back at this moment and say, definitely the top 20 moments of my life. Because you know what? A lot of people have appreciated my intellect, I know that. But for him to say something as crazy as what he just did, that shifted the timeline of this genius man right here. This is the smartest man I've met in a long time. I don't even know what his IQ is. I'm scared of getting it checked. I just don't want to. I don't want to fucking do it. I don't want to. I want to go into a competition with this guy on my IQ. This guy's thinking about activating the functional whatever he calls it, but I get it.
So I didn't get to go through the deck because the time was cut off, and I'm gonna go through the final bits now. So basically, I stopped when we were talking about Humane, which is the AI pin company, which is valued at over $1 billion prior to release, was onto something when they thought about creating a new device that could replace the phone. And so the fundamental basis where they're not wrong is that we need humane technology. One of the most prominent people in this space runs Center for Humane Technology, who is very against TikTok and these short form platforms which run an engagement algorithm. This is sort of like The nervous system of our global organism currently maximizes extraction of value from people. But the market pattern that we always see is that things get released which maximize value for users. We've never seen that in terms of short form content, which is the current most used form of social media today. And so that's where this other idea comes into play, which is to turn the device into a true device rather than device. And how do we do that? Well, the fundamental basis of it is to take the same exact style of feed that you might find in TikTok. And I'll show you the app right now. So that you scroll.
Tomorrow's troubles are not
but you'll
yet
notice it has a different energy to it. And when I click this button, I click I feel inspired. It tells me stay off your phone, live with purpose, go be great, and it exits the app. And that's actually how we sort the feed. So it ends up being a collective of people sorting for the highest vibes. Also, while you're scrolling, you're telling the algorithm which things you resonate with the most, so that we can just provide the maximum value for you. Now, this doesn't monetize the same as TikTok does, because they're trying to keep you on the platform as long as possible to serve you more ads. Instead, this has a cryptocurrency attached to it, which has transaction fees, as well as an embedded wallet. A lot of people know that Web3 is the future, that blockchain is the future, but what we've yet to see is a killer app. The killer app is obvious that it will be something that would work regardless of being involved with crypto. Crypto is just amazing because it allows us to maximize value for users, and it then allows them to engage with buying tokens, which is a part of the fee structure that enables us just to maximize value for users. That allows us to value itself. I think that this is such an exciting thing and such an important thing for the world. Next, we have Wemotions. Wemotions falls in line with a bigger picture idea of storytelling, of narrative. And what it does is, a lot of us have thought about how there's a collective need for basically all these thoughts, emotions, and feelings that big corporations and people are either ignoring certain questions or Apple removing the headphone jack. What if we had a methodology to kind of build a social movement and garner a ton of attention to get people to change these things, to all voice our emotions collectively? And that's what the town hall served as originally on a local scale. We're now in a global culture, and because we don't have a place for these emotions to go towards collective action, we end up with this cancel culture, which is very reactionary. And so we want to move to emotion culture. And that's why we built Wemotions.app. And how it works is there's different motion pages. So we have Wemotions.app/Elon Musk. Anyone can submit a motion. The motions are scored not only by AI, but voted on by users who sign in and verify an account. And this is paired with a social movement, which has been shown, provably, that when you build basically a viral channel, which says, day one of posting videos until I achieve some goal, it really blows up. And so you'll see that here. Day one of trying to hug Elon Musk. Day one of staying outside Twitter until I hug Elon Musk was this guy's mission. And eventually he hugged Elon Musk. He got hundreds of millions of views. But after he did, you'll see this video, then his future videos died off. What's amazing about Wemotions is that the second we complete one Wemotion, we give people a recognition of the power of our voice. And rather than that single flagpole leading to people not having a cool story to follow anymore, it just builds towards bigger and bigger stories of reaching bigger and bigger leaders and corporations, and it truly acts as an attention vehicle, something that's going to help platform the rest of our applications and stuff. It's a marketing engine on top of being an amazing tool to build a podcast from. What are we asking for when we achieve this? We're saying day one of reading the top we motions for Elon Musk until he comes on the podcast and addresses the top 10. And so every day there's an interesting aspect of reading the motions that people put in. There's voting happening, and it acts as a ticking time bomb of dissent that someone wants to reply to so they can stop the chain. And once we get people to do that, we effectively build the first podcast which, one, gets its guests via a social movement, so it advertises and markets itself through a social movement, and two, it acts as a podcast where all the viewers and audience get to decide on the main questions that they want to hear answered. And so it gives us great access to the best questions and things to bring up. Next, we have NeighborGood. NeighborGood acts as a fundamental agent. We can imagine, hey, I want to get coffee around these times. I'd love whoever else walks their dog. We can walk our dog together. I want to get connected to someone who maybe we could carpool. And it acts as just that super extroverted neighbor who builds community, and it gives a platform for people to build connection on, given that we've lost some of the neighborhood touch in our current digital paradigm. This idea was created by Christine Peterson, who I met, who originally just used Swissmote services to build her MVP. And then she said, you know what? I want to continue working with you guys and you guys to run it from your studio. And so that was really, just a sign of the stuff we'll continue to do, is that our manifestation engine, what is Swissmote and just building a founding team for a new idea, allows us to partner with any people, including VCs, build their idea out profitably for us while taking ownership in these ideas and instantly having a leader and mentor for the projects. Who acts as a champion. This one was quickly mentioned, and it's really fun to play with. You can find all the images of yourself on the internet that you might not even know existed. I found a friend who did running with the bulls. We also then built this tool which automates going on YC co-founder search and connects with people who are in the ecosystem, which could be a good fit. These are just some of the kind of stuff we're playing around with in terms of what we can automate. We automated the cold meeting outreach, and then we started building a Zoom and Google Meet assistant, which would join and conversate. And Swapnil, who was building that, I pulled over to the Overdrive team because I did a hackathon just for this meeting assistant. He won, and so he was just already fundamentally really great with conversational capabilities. And Overdrive is a much bigger project. Now, that technology we're going to bring back over here once Swapno gets some free time, and we're going to be able to record these automated meetings with automated AI pitchers, which typically would not look good for your company, but as an AI studio and with automation projects, it's a flex. If you're an AI company and your AI is not pitching your company for you, are you really a good AI company? So I think of us as, there's no studio out there I know of that's better at turning capital to innovation. We've really perfected that at our core. And that's the system which has allowed us to create all of this enterprise value, amazing team members, amazing recruits, all these websites for a total of $130,000 so far. That is unheard of. There's no one out there who has done it like that and built this much enterprise value. If we wanted to get these teams acqui-hired, I actually already got the Workplete team a offer to move them to San Francisco, pay for their visas, $200K a year, $1 million of equity each. But Workplete itself will raise a round, likely bigger than the initial round I'm raising for the venture studio itself, which owns 90% of Workplete. And the reason I'm just going after a fundraising round, which isn't massive, is it does act massive for me. It acts more like $30 million, that $2 million, because I'm taking it over to India. And then because I'm finding the best people in India, it's the core of what's making us going to be one of the most disruptive studios in the entire game. I'm setting up for that. I'm setting up to be a storyteller, to build a lot of attention, to shift humanity in a very positive way. And I'm at Brock's house here in Puerto Rico. Been staying here 2 months. He said he's never incubated or let a person stay here and bet on them, because it's all just his team and then myself, who wasn't then massively successful in the future. He's very good at kind of identifying great talent in companies, and he's putting his money behind us and his time behind us. He's the one who brought me to that pitch competition and got me on stage, and that was my first one. Paul Allen from Ancestry.com said it was, when we talked, reminded him of meeting Zuckerberg early on. He has an AI studio as well, which he's going to become a partner in ours. We're going to kind of help his company with our recruiting stack. I met Peter Pham of Science, also going to be using us potentially as a main recruiting for their studio. Their studio is massive, created multi-billion-dollar companies. And this guy, Ashish Gupta, who's been in VC before in investment banking, said, I'm going to invest a large amount of my personal money, and I want to work for you full time, and I don't want to get paid. I just want some equity. So the pitch event ended up leading to some amazing people, and the round's now in the late stage. So I'm sending this out to my friends and family and people who have followed my journey, who I feel like it would be bad if I don't offer you to get in at the early stage. And we might need to cap the check size based on the trajectory that I'm moving towards. But, it also comes down to what strategic alignments there are and maybe other value add things which exist inside of different people's potential. And I'm really, really excited. One of my favorite things is this guy, Emil, who's like, I don't just want to invest, I want to invest and build a startup with the company. So I'll invest so that you may prioritize my vision. I'll hire a team. The studio will own equity in that company. And I think this is going to be a really good method moving forward because it solves the scale problem of mentorship. Currently, I'm acting as an advisor and mentor to these companies. These companies are kind of running on their own, but I am helping to steer their ship and just give my best thoughts. Now, there's also some mentorship sites which we'll build some automated bots on for our teams to be able to find mentors more easily. Any bottleneck with ingenuity and innovation capabilities at the best and most efficient cost, we will win at. And so we're building the most efficient organism at building tech companies. And as an ecosystem, because we own a majority, it allows us to create great partnerships between them and do that seamlessly without needing to focus on what typically between two companies, there's a decent amount of time clashing between the negotiations. For us, there's a higher, bigger picture here, a higher nucleus for all the different cells that are a part of our organism. So we're multi-celled, which, as we know, multi-celled organisms won over the single-celled ones. So a lot of great people, a lot of great backgrounds. Everyone was found with these automated outreach tools besides 4 people. And now it's time to scale. So we are next going to be rapidly advertising Empowerverse. That company is ready to go. Overdrive just released onto the store. Then we have Workplete potentially going to JV with Science Inc. We're going to figure that out. I got so much deal flow that I'm following up with from this pitch event. Really, really exciting. One of the things we're going to build, because we're going to raise individual rounds for each of the sub companies, is a tool for VCs to allow our studio to build a lot of VC relationships by offering them a software. We're just going to go ahead and ask VCs, hey, what type of software do you need? Likely that'll be a cold inbound filtering system, which just analyzes the deck and says, is this a good fit for your venture fund? So yeah, I'm on YouTube, launched a couple initial videos. Storytelling is going to become one of the big keys in terms of another thing I invest in is I get to announce, hey, I raised our round, here's what we're doing, and I'm also giving a ton of offers for advisors from just my past network of all amazing people who I want to be incentivized in some way to follow the story. And the only thing I'm going to kind of require for them as an advisor, because it's not going to be a giant amount, I'm going to go more after making sure I get all the really cool people, is watch the YouTube video every week, 10 minutes max. But that's going to be so valuable to have all these genius people and networked people just following our story, where I can talk about the bottlenecks and successes, and it's going to lead to a lot of opportunity and network effects. So the bigger picture, of course, is that we are basically filling this schism in venture, which doesn't invest directly in people at the earliest stage, just test people, give them a salary to go on the exponential path. This schism exists. One part that got cut off was when I was saying, from the standpoint of a venture capitalist, if they offer in this market $2,000 to take 80% of your company, $2,000 a month because it's salary based, then that is the worst deal out in venture. From the flip side, this is the absolute best deal on the job market. And so that's the schism that we're filling. I know of this schism so deeply because it was the thing that when I was young, I was confused at not being available to me that I wanted so badly. And if I had, it would have been massively beneficial for my first startup, which did super well, but needed that little bit of extra VC support early on, which I didn't have access to in Tucson, Arizona. So in this kind of shift in the speed and capability of small teams to innovate and disrupt quicker than ever, while we're getting better and better AI models, we can think that, yes, it opens up the bottleneck of software shipping to be way quicker and small teams to build much bigger products and architect big visions. But there's other aspects than just that. And so if we can do 10,000x engineers, then we can build 10,000x innovation machines or 10,000x venture studios. That's why I think we're set up to be the Idea Lab of this decade. Idea Lab was an early, during the internet type of push company, which created multi-billion-dollar companies. They're now a publicly traded company, and they kind of set the game for venture studios, someone that Brock will be introducing me to. So if I've sent this to you, you probably already have my number, but that is all. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Just finished a meeting. Peter Pham, absolute legend. He was just ripping out straight fire on all the different projects that we have going. Knew exactly what made him great, what the UVP was, and what's going to make him scale and be amazing.
Some really good ideas, some really fast execution, which is all I really want from people, and some flexibility in terms of where the idea goes.
Fuck yeah. LFG. So Kobe heard about, I told him about my recruiting methodology, spin up a bunch of smart humans to compete in making great things happen. And we're going to go after the
mining
industry.
Mining and exploration to take something that normally takes 16 years and $450 million.
Yeah.
We're going to try and shorten that to 6 months and $1 million.
Yep. And I'm going to 1,000x Colby's investment in Persist when it's the next alphabet. So, wait, that would be far more than 1,000x, huh? Yeah.
Make some money.
What's that?
Make some money.
Yeah, a couple dollars. Hey, do both at the same time. You can't beat that.
Hey.
Get the dap on cam. Dap cam. This is the man, the myth, the legend who hosted the conference that my speech was at. Got me all the right connections. And tell him about the new thing we're doing.
24-hour stock news channel.
What's
With
with
a
you,
really hot, it's gonna be like a really hot, direct, like person.
Not overly sexual though.
Sexual, yeah.
Not overly sexual.
Not overly sexual.
Not overly.
Okay,
All right.
And then, see you. I'll see you later.
Enjoy.
And then she's gonna have a scandal.
She's gonna have a scandal.
She's gonna have a sex scandal with her Instagram page.
But we've been working for about a month and a half now on basically 3 different things if you don't know. We have a social strategy, which is, call it Project V.
Got it.
Which has
I
all,
know Project V very well.
right? Then we have Persist Ventures up here,
Yeah.
which is the AI sort of rapid development venture studio.
Right.
And then Fourth Revolution, which is the AI fund, which, work together. Those are like the 3 main things that we're working on. And then coming out of here are a bunch of things like Bible, that I've been talking to the evangelicals in the church about distributing, getting them behind it. I think we want to talk about Jesus in here. There's no question that Jack, of all of the people, when it comes to social strategy, it's indisputable. Spend 10 minutes with him, you'll know.
Yeah. Got it.
Like, he actually knows. You know who was doing this prior to you? Jack's son. But the problem is Jackson was trying to imitate Andrew Tate. He was trying to imitate Andrew Tate, and he was trying to push me into an Andrew Tate, and I just was resistant. He was spot on. He had literally your skills when it came into this and knowledge, except for he was trying to imitate Andrew Tate. You've actually had the conversation with me because you're operating here. He was operating at Andrew Tate level. You're operating at my level, right? We're operating in this more ethereal kind of what's coming next plane, and I'm like, oh, thank God. Because I was repulsed by everything Jack's son was making.
Right.
He was operating at a son level. He's where the little ones are. You're actually operating up here, which is pretty awesome. Because you actually have the awareness and understanding of the mechanics of what's going on. And the ability to execute, as well as, the higher awareness of what's coming next, to lead rather than follow.
And part of that, of what's coming next is...
By the way, Jackson was awesome. And by the way, he lives here. We should actually spend some time, because what you might find is he's got a lot of infrastructure with a new strategy that they know what to do. Because he got it. He's like, Brock, we need to do this for you.
Yeah.
The problem is the strategy was Andrew Tate.
Sure.
It was very much money, all the things that Andrew Tate was doing. And I'm like, no, I do not want to be seen like that. That's not. I like to show off when I fly and coach.
Right.
I'm not the one that's like,
well, that's wave 3. It's
here's the car, here's the jet, Yeah, by the way, yes, I do fly jets sometimes. But if I do, it's not because it's for time.
Which is
it is not a luxury of me trying to be wasteful. Waste not, want not. Waste is not to show off. By the way, I only fly on a jet as needed for the mission.
Also, your jets are painted, so
let's have some fun with it.
It's
but
actually
also,
cool.
But exactly, and having fun with it. Buying smart, waste not, want not.
So I'm hearing that you have what Santos is going to bring to any conversation on strategy, because you understand his brand and what he's trying to do and the image he's trying to do.
He understands it better than our marketing team does.
Okay.
Literally, we speak the same language, if you haven't noticed.
I'm feeling it. I'm
Yeah.
seeing it. I'm just making sure.
He already knows my script.
Okay.
Before, he's got it. We're in tune. He knows, we speak the same language.
Yeah.
Which that's the other problem is I couldn't let anybody put words in my mouth that doesn't speak from the same place.
No.
Because it's inauthentic. Jack, I would be comfortable with Jack giving a speech instead of me.
Putting on deep fake and
quick mention right after I finished filming that, I thought to myself, one of the biggest reasons I'm bullish is because I think I just get it. I've been studying the future. I've been looking at the crystal ball, just trying to understand how things are gonna unravel. And I think that's the biggest failure mode of
every single person is this inability to plan for this future that's coming. I can mention that in the next year, we're going to see fully generated AI movies. I don't think people truly understand what that means. That means Hollywood itself will get completely destroyed. One person, entire film studios now existing. This is a big paradigm shift, and there's many more paradigm shifts that all entangle. By understanding all of those, by understanding that every individual is going to have a much bigger chance to disrupt, means the venture studio model, which is really just searching for the greatest talent and putting them onto that path, to help them towards that path, and to build an ecosystem of those sorts of people, to tell a big story to the world of greatness, of bringing systemic solutions and tech for good, aligned systems to the playing field. Well, it's a heroic journey that I feel called towards. So, that's the true ending. If you want to check out how that's going to unravel, go watch the next video, and you'll be tuned in. Cheers. What's up? I'm Jack. I am the founder of Persist Ventures, and I want to introduce the rest of the team. I have been doing this method of recruiting, which I find to be the best. It is taking thousands of people, which our bots get into different batches for each new project we want to launch, giving them all the same exact assignment, typically quite difficult, and then only selecting 1, 2, 3, or sometimes 4 of the absolute best submissions. It allows us to see who's quick, who's very intelligent, follows the instructions kind of to a T, but also who goes above and beyond. I've been insanely impressed from running this sort of testing function. You're about to see all the nerds and geniuses who passed it.
I stand before you today with a sense of gratitude and enthusiasm as I reflect on my journey here.
Hey there, I am Swapnil Sharma, rocking the AI engineer role at Persist Ventures. Coolest interview I ever gave, honestly. These past months were pure gold.
What I like most about Persist is actually its vision. So what we are developing here is very futuristic and almost movie-like.
This place, it was more than just like an office or an internship for me. It was like the playground for potential, and it was this place where I unearthed like what I was really good at.
Over the course of my time here, I have had the privilege of working with some of the brightest minds in our industry.
It's been a great experience exploring AI, launching GPT models, and working on building an AGI product.
Persist Ventures gave me this platform to actually bring out my true inner talent and showcase what I've actually got.
At Persist Ventures, it enabled me to just explore my passion and just work with the new technologies like launching GPT.
The work in itself is very experimental, so we are free to express ourselves and we keep trying new ideas, see what works, and ultimately end up with something that is extremely new and exciting.
Every day at Persist Ventures till today has been like a journey of self-discovery, peppered with challenges, learnings, and lots of support from like an amazing set of mentors and like the colleagues which one could ask for.
We are not just holded by the boundaries, we are expanding at the international level.
It's been a really great journey till now, developing apps that are really out of this world.
I'm grateful for the opportunities, the challenges, and the incredible people